Well, hey, it is Friday again, and here I am, live at 5. I'm going to try to the best of my ability to be live at 5 every Friday. That's a big commitment for me because my schedule is nothing if not a moving target. But I understand from the people that follow me that it would be nice if it was always at the same time. So I'm going to try Facebook and Instagram live at 5 every Friday. Again, I'm looking back and forth because I have two devices. Someday I'll get StreamYard or something. Possibly, maybe. No, probably not. How is your Friday? How was your week, by the way? You can put in the comments how things have been going in your neck of the woods. I can tell you assuredly, the first week, full week of October is kicking my butt. Now, I was pretty tired at the end of last week, so I'm sure that had something to do with it, but I think it has a lot to do with the fluctuation in our atmosphere here in Minnesota. The weather is such a fickle thing this time of year, and so there were some warm days. I think it's been warm on average, but there have been some rainy and some cooler days, and so, all of that on top of the regular just makes for interesting stuff, right? Well, we are headed into October. We are going to do another free masterclass. A free masterclass yet again. You heard it correctly. So the first one that I launched was in middle September, and it's an hour of each of the 5 topic areas with my online courses at learntoloveyourstory.com. And those are teaching about self-awareness, teaching about self-compassion, learning a little bit more about how social conditioning has really kind of done a number on us. For instance, like the post I just put out today was on how women in America, women in midlife in particular in America, struggle with this ideal of being selfless or people pleasers or caretakers, right? But if there is a continual putting others over yourself, not just taking care of your family, but also taking care of yourself, balanced, no, but putting others before you, like there's a self-betrayal over time if you're not doing the self-care that you need to be. And so that middle category, bucking the system, is really about questioning kind of what holds in place some of the rigid things that we do that are actually participating in our own suffering. So that's the third of the classes in the master class. The fourth is on the radical idea that self-care is the most selfless act that you can do. So if you are really taking care of yourself, that's not selfish. That is self-care, and in self-care in service to this selfless ideal that you have of being the best caretaker, in being the one that serves your community and your families and your workplace. If that's your shtick, like, great. And you're the vessel that does that work, right? And if you're the vessel that does that work, then you have to take care of you. Nobody else is going to do that. I'm sorry. That's just how it works. So that's number 4. And then number 5 is how all of these go together, and in using them as a unit, how we have a growth mindset. And here is why I think a growth mindset is such a big deal. Such a big deal. We are in a constant state of flux right now, and the pandemic is nowhere near ending. Sorry, that also is just a hashtag fact that is a hard one to swallow. A lot of us had hoped to kind of rush into this, last quarter of the year, the fall season, going back to school, going into the workplace, and like, it's all going to be normal. And then Delta variants came up, and there's new ones on the horizon. I am not up on all of that stuff. However, I know that the physical health sides of things hasn't hit its stride yet. And until it does, the emotional turmoil is just one wave after another after another. And we're all kind of in a different state of being able to handle that or cope with it or not cope with it or wherever you're at with it. So growth mindset is a resiliency. It's a skill of resiliency. It's a way of navigating life at a time when everything seems to be moving. It is really hard to stay grounded when the ground is moving. Do you hear me? It's like trying to plant your feet during an earthquake, the stuff that we're going through. And whether or not you have an awareness of it or not, that is what it's doing to your mind and body. So I want to help people really facilitate getting that growth mindset. That's what the online course is all about. And the new group coaching package for women in midlife is just the added value of having me also coach you through how this is going to be useful for you in particular, women in midlife. Because listen, about 1 in 3 adult women right now are reporting depression and anxiety per the CDC. That's the latest survey. I believe it came out in July or August. And the benchmark that they're comparing this against was the last survey that they did in 2019, showed about 20% of women showing clinical levels of depression or reporting clinical levels of depression. That's a steep increase. Now, it's during COVID. So people are like, yeah, it's COVID. Yeah, it's COVID. And what I know as a clinician is we haven't even hit the worst of where the emotional parts are going to be. The depression rates rising that steeply in that short period of time, and during the time that we're still not completely resonating all of the impact that this is going to have on us and on our families and on whatever, that's a big deal. And I'm worried for the women. I'm worried for you guys because I know that women tend to kind of take this position in our communities. That's the backbone of our communities. They're raising the families more often. They're balancing that in their life work balance more than their partners are. They are, part of the workforce, although they are down to 56% of the workforce, which is the lowest it's been since about the late 80s. I want you to think about that. Women had to leave the workforce more than their male counterparts to help families and make accommodations, to either help young children or parents, right? Older parents. That's another side. When you're in the midlife, you might be taking care of older people in your family or younger people in your family. It just depends on your family makeup. And they left much more frequently in the last couple years, 18 months, than their male counterparts did. And then even of the women that are in the workforce presently, about 20% of them have had to make major modifications to how they do work, taking pay cuts, working from home, balancing again that family life and that work life. Well, if these are the people that are, raising our kids, teaching our kids, lifting up our communities, and we aren't lifting them up, we're hurting all of us, right? So my focus is on this group in part because I know a lot about midlife transition. I've helped a lot of women in that genre. I have a lot of education and experience behind me that is going to be really helpful to that group. And because I know if I lift up that group, I'm actually lifting up all of us. If I focus on teens, if I focus on, young adults, yep, that will be helpful, mostly to just that group. But there is just kind of this significant linchpin, kind of backbone-y kind of part that women, the majority of women in midlife are playing in our lives and our workforces and our families and in our communities, that we really want to lift them up. I really want to lift them up. So that is really what the group coaching package is all about, and the free workshop is all about. So that was a long story to say we're going to talk about self-awareness. We're going to talk about self-compassion. We're going to talk about getting rid of kind of that old social conditioning that's not useful to us anymore. We're going to talk about self-care being this radical idea that you serve you first and then the rest of the people in your life. Just like on the airplane, you put the oxygen on and then you put it on small people, right? All to create a growth mindset, because this growth mindset is a resiliency skill that I think could be key to helping us fluidly pivot through all of the changes that are being thrown at us. And I know that women in midlife have already hit a bunch of pivot life transitions normally within their development, because they've got kids that are aging out of their houses and parents that are aging and need their help. And there's a lot of stuff that's happening for women and men in midlife. It's one of those more significant developmental shifts for all of us. So that, compounded with COVID, compounded with economic hardships, really has created a perfect storm here for mental health to just tank. So I am just trying to hit a broader audience, and that's what Learn to Love Your Story is all about. Yes. So yeah, I hope that you all have a great weekend. I hope you've got stuff on your docket that's like, this is so fun. It is heading into that like fun time with fall. Like if you want your pumpkin spice lattes and your, cozy sweaters and going out to the pumpkin patch and doing all those iconic things. If this is your deal, I hope it's starting for you. I can see in my drives, like each day the leaves are changing. It happens pretty quickly, honestly, in Minnesota. It's like winter lasts forever. And fall, which is actually a really beautiful season change. It's cooler, but the weather is still nice. The ground is not full of snow and ice and gross, and it's easy to move around and do outdoor things. It'd be nice if we could have 5 months of that. I'm just saying. But nope, that's not how it works here. So it goes pretty quickly. So enjoy it. Tell me, how your week has been, what you're up to this weekend. I want to hear about it, people. I really do. I want to know where you're at. And hey, drop some wisdom for me. If anything that I pointed out today didn't resonate or did resonate for you, let's start talking about it in the discussion. I asked for that in another post I did on people pleasing, but people pleasing, this idea that we put others before ourselves as women in this range of like 30s to 60s. Yeah, it's really debilitating. It's even traumatic when we start to engage in that self-betrayal on a routine basis. Then our people pleasing behavior really is a trauma response. And I know that that's a provocative way to think about it. As a almost 20-year veteran, as a clinician, I can tell you that's exactly what it is, though. It just is what it is. But hey, it's a provocative conversation. I'd love to hear your opinions on that. Have a great weekend, everybody.